afternoon, New Brunswick, and welcome to today's COVID-19 update for the province. I'm Vicky Hogarth at the CHCO News Desk. Today we will be hearing from Premier Higgs, Dr. Russell, and Minister Shepherd. We've yet to do the journalist roll call. However, I am on the line, so expect a short interruption as we do roll call any moment now. Now, I am expecting there to be some big news today in light of the holidays being upon us this week. I don't know the exact details yet about what they are, and obviously we will also hear the new case count at the start of the conference. I know many of you are well accustomed to that at this point in the pandemic. I see a lot of you are already watching online. Hello to Jane, hello to Corey at Moncton Scanner and News. It's great to see you joining us. I just had a nice phone call too with Louise, who I believe is from St. John, just talking about some questions for today's conference, and I will get to some of the questions that you've all written in this week. A lot of it obviously has to do with the Omicron variant and what we are learning about it as this new variant takes hold really internationally. Now, right now, there are only 31 known cases of Omicron in New Brunswick. However, that is obviously likely to change at the start of the conference as we hear from Dr. Russell about the case count of the day. Now, I do believe around 519 cases have been, or tests have been sent to the Moncton laboratory to be tested for Omicron. These are positive cases that we have in New Brunswick, and of those, 31 have so far tested positive for Omicron. But in terms of overall active cases, there were 118 new cases in New Brunswick yesterday. Now, those cases were in 14 in Zone 1, 24 in Zone 2, 53 in Zone 3, 17 in Zone 4, 0 in Zone 5, 4 in Zone 6, and 6 in Zone 7. Now, overall, we have 1,269 active cases of COVID-19 in the province, and again, those numbers will change at the start of the conference when Dr. Russell gives us the new case count. The breakdown in terms of zones is 231 in Zone 1, 373 now in Zone 2, which is slowly creeping up on Zone 3 for being the zone with the most active cases. Zone 3 still has the most, so with 402. Zone 4 has 82. 5 has 21, 6 has 28, and Zone 7 has 132. Now, as you've probably been following along with us about Nova Scotia has since had a huge uptick in the number of cases. This all stems from St. Francis Xavier University, the outbreak that happened there, and obviously with Omicron being a part of that outbreak, it has since spread quite drastically through the province, and that is how Omicron as well came to New Brunswick through that gathering where an outbreak occurred. And as you can see how quickly this new variant is able to spread is quite alarming. I'm sure this will be addressed in today's conference. I'm hearing from a lot of people online. I'm following your comments as well. If you're following, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my earpiece. I'm following on Facebook. So if you do have comments and questions, again, I am expecting some news in today's conference that will address the holidays. Whether that means a level change, I don't yet know, but you should be expecting to hear a plan for the holidays or post-holiday season. Now, if we look back on last year's cases, there were a lot of new cases that came up in January. That was really, I looked back recently to see what January was like, just getting an outlook for, I'm in the same boat as many of you, where yesterday I just officially canceled my travel plans for the season, so I know how a lot of you are feeling. I was supposed to go away January 1st, but due to Omicron, it doesn't seem like a possibility anymore, so I do feel for those of you who are in a similar boat. It is a tough time that we are living in right now, but I looked back on January last year where we weren't yet dealing with Omicron, but we had not had vaccination rollout the way we do now. In January, after the holidays, I think we had a press conference almost every day for the first 9 or 10 days of January. It was due to holiday gatherings and what happened after. Now, I am sure that Dr. Russell, Premier Higgs, and Minister Shepherd are concerned about what holiday gatherings will mean in light of Omicron now being a part of what we're navigating at this point in the pandemic. Now, you know that booster shot rollout is going along steadily. I believe it's 14%. I can give you the vaccination numbers. Now, of all the people eligible in New Brunswick, we know that is for people who are age 5 and up, 82.6% are fully vaccinated. 89.5% have had 2 doses, and now a total of 14% have had their booster doses. And my father, Bob Hogarth, is one of those people. I booked him his appointment last week just to make sure he did it. So, Dad, I'm very happy that you've had your booster shot. It makes me feel a lot safer. Now, we do know that other provinces have imposed new travel restrictions in the Atlantic area. PEI is now saying if you do visit the province, now this is regardless of vaccination status, this is that you have to isolate for 4 days, and you are to be tested with a rapid test on day 1 and again on day 4, and if both those tests are negative, then you are free to, there's Bruce there, let's just take a listen for.
Media room, just going to do a roll call on the list I've had. Vicky Hogarth.
Here.
Andrew Watt.
So,
yeah.
As you can hear from roll call right now, it looks like I will be first on the list for questions, but I do have a feeling that it's going to be quite a packed press conference. So whether we're able to get 1 or 2 questions in today, I'm not quite sure. It'll give you an idea of everyone just from listening in on the background there. You can have an idea of how many people will be in on the call. So I'm imagining we will have probably just 1 question today, and after Bruce has done roll call, I'll give you an idea of some of the questions you've written in. But again, based on what information is shared today, I might pivot and ask something different. If in fact we are dealing with a level change, actually we could have 2 questions. Sounds like some people are already on their holiday break a bit early. So hopefully that means, if we're doing roll call now, hopefully that means we're starting on time. Though, you know, often when we have 3 people in the press conference, it can get started a few minutes later than anticipated. But many of you are already used to that, and I appreciate how many of you actually join us early. The reason we've been always doing this sort of pre-show, I think that's what it's been called, is just so that you know that the conference is coming up, but it also gives us an opportunity to tell you what the main themes were in terms of questions that you, the viewers, wrote in for the week or called in. I speak to a number of you on the phone or over email as well, so I really appreciate, and I would like to say this since this might be our last press conference before the holidays, I really enjoyed, as much as sometimes the news can be quite dire, I have really enjoyed being a part of this with you, and I'm seeing Corey do it from Moncton Scanner News, writing again. There's so many of you I've gotten to know, sometimes just online or over email or over the phone in the past 1.5 years, almost 2 years, but as hard as the times have been, it's been a really special experience sharing them with New Brunswickers and feeling like we are all in this together. I know there's a lot of negativity too, so as we navigate this together, let's just try to maintain as much respect and civility as we can in the process of doing this. I know it's hard, and as a human, I feel it on a very human level as well when plans are canceled, when your Christmas ends up being a lot smaller than you originally anticipated. And I know the feeling of, I know I booked my trip back in the summer when I had just had both doses of my shots and felt like, okay, now it's time to book. And then we're all thrown with this new news of Omicron. It's hard, definitely, but as much as we can manage to respect each other's different opinions, different fears and anxieties, and know we're all coming at this together with different life issues that obviously make the news harder to bear for different reasons. I'd really appreciate if we can do our best to be respectful of one another today. I read a really upsetting article yesterday about the number of threats that Minister Shepherd gets. It was 10 pages compiled that the government had of threats she had received, and they were really heartbreaking just to read the few that were mentioned, to know that she has that to deal with emotionally. It could be quite traumatizing. So remember that these are people, and whether you agree with them or not, they have families who love them, and they need to navigate their own holidays in a way where they feel safe too. So just remember, when you say something, it's a real person who you're talking about. And I know most of you do, so I really don't want to take too long to dwell on that, because for the most part, I've had a very positive experience from doing this in a way that we feel is interactive. And I want to be able to continue that into the new year. And we know January is, from what we know right now, we know January is going to be a hard month with Omicron. We don't yet know the level of severity. I just spoke with a viewer on the phone about that. They're still trying to navigate whether it's as severe or less severe than other strains of COVID-19. It's not yet known. It looks like we are going Nope, sorry, I had a word from the back that we might have video feed yet from the conference room. It looks like it was a false alarm. They're not quite in the conference room. The cameras are being set up though, so as soon as we see Premier Higgs, Dr. Russell, Minister Shepherd, and Bruce enter the conference room, we will go straight there. So I do want to let you know that as soon as the press conference is starting, we'll cut right to the room. And please, again, Shauna Lee is asking online right now who's speaking today. So in today's press conference, we'll be joined by Premier Higgs, Dr. Russell, and Minister Shepherd. Now, we are expecting some rather big news today. I don't know if that means more travel restrictions, level changes, or what, but definitely we will be hearing a plan about how they plan to navigate the holiday season in light of the Omicron variant. 31 cases of Omicron that we do now know are in New Brunswick. It's likely that there are more to announce today. They are definitely sending anything they think that could be either travel related or outbreak related to the Moncton lab for further testing for Omicron. I did want to mention to you too that there are one story I'm working on for the news tonight is just about travel restrictions and new travel requirements if you are traveling for the holidays. Now we do know that starting today, yesterday was the last day you could go on a short trip to the U.S. And many of us who live near the U.S. border, we're very excited about that, especially those of you who have family on the other side for the holidays, that you could go without a negative PCR test for return. But today that starts again. So I imagine the border was quite quiet today, the international border. PEI, as I mentioned, is asking everyone who comes to the province now to isolate for 4 days with rapid testing on day 1 and day 4 and 2 negative tests required to be out of isolation after day 4. Newfoundland too.
Good afternoon, everybody.
No, it looks like we're going into the press conference. So I am going to see you after the press conference to just do a quick roundup. But again, please feel free to send in your questions online, and I will do my best to pivot based on the information shared.
The Honorable Dorothy Shepherd, Minister
to
of
ask
Health,
the questions that best suit what you viewers are feeling at home. I'll just get word on whether we have a video. All right, I'll see you after the conference.
Honorable Dorothy Shepherd, Minister of Health, and the Honorable Blaine Higgs, Premier of New Brunswick. Les porte-paroles aujourd'hui dans l'ordre suivant sont la médecin hygiéniste en chef, le Dr. Jennifer Russell, l'Honorable Dorothy Shepherd, Ministre de la Santé, et l'Honorable Blaine Higgs, Premier Ministre. Dr. Russell.
Good afternoon, bon après-midi à toutes et à tous. Noël et le temps de fête, c'est toujours sur notre porte de nouveau, soit la deuxième temps de fête et Noël depuis le début de la pandémie mondiale de COVID-19. Je suis certain que personne n'est heureux de la situation dans laquelle nous nous trouvons aujourd'hui, c'est-à-dire que nous tentons toujours de limiter la propagation du virus responsable de la COVID-19. Once again, the holiday season is upon us, and this will be the second holiday season of the COVID-19 global pandemic. And I'm sure that no one is happy to find that we're here today again working towards containing and decreasing the spread of COVID-19. We had all hoped for a better end to this year, but the virus is still with us. It will continue to be with us for some time to come. Therefore, we must all do everything we can to keep ourselves, our families, and communities safe during this holiday season. Le nombre de cas de COVID-19 dans les administrations juste à côté de nous, à Québec, en Maine, à Nouvelle-Écosse, ne cesse d'atteindre des nouveaux records. Le Québec a signalé 4 500 nouveaux cas hier. La Nouvelle-Écosse annonce quotidiennement près de 500 nouveaux cas depuis 5 jours. La région rurale de l'Est de l'État du Maine montre l'un des taux d'infection les plus élevés aux États-Unis. Cette situation ne s'est pas encore produite ici pour le moment. Everywhere around us, COVID-19 infections are reaching record levels. Quebec reported 4,500 new cases yesterday. Nova Scotia has had nearly 500 new cases daily in each of the last 5 days. Rural eastern Maine is reporting one of the highest infection rates in the United States. This has not happened here yet, but it will likely happen, and it's not if, it's when, and it is important that all New Brunswickers are prepared for this. The Omicron variant is far more contagious than the versions of the COVID-19 virus that we have seen thus far in this pandemic. I'm going to show you a slide, and where you see the yellow, that shows our projection based on our current trends in New Brunswick. As you can see from this slide, when Omicron replaces Delta as the dominant strain in this province, as is happening elsewhere, we expect the number of COVID-19 infections will double every 3 days. That is an exponential growth. At that pace, our modeling suggests that we could see up to 250 new cases each day by early January and as many as 400 new cases a day by the end of next month. À ce rythme, nos mécanismes de modélisation laissent entendre que nous pourrions avoir jusqu'à 250 nouveaux cas par jour au début de janvier et jusqu'à 400 nouveaux cas par jour d'ici à la fin du mois prochain. Even if Omicron turned out to be a milder form of the virus, and the jury is still out on that, the sheer volume of cases will result in a larger number of severely ill patients. That will put an even greater strain on our healthcare system. The interim measures introduced last week will help to slow the spread of the virus, at least temporarily, but it won't stop it. No one should expect that we will escape the aggressive spread of this virus that our neighbors are already experiencing. That is why we will have to do more in the days and weeks ahead to buy us the time we need to get even more New Brunswickers vaccinated and boosted. Aujourd'hui, Santé publique annonce qu'il y a 156 nouveaux cas de COVID-19 au Nouveau-Brunswick. Avec 157 rétablissements, il y a présentement 1268 cas actifs dans la province. Le nombre d'hospitalisations demeure relativement stable. À l'heure actuelle, 41 personnes sont hospitalisées en raison de la COVID-19, dont 19 aux soins intensifs. Today, Public Health is reporting 156 new cases of COVID-19 in New Brunswick, with 157 recoveries. There are now 1,268 active cases in the province. Our hospitalization numbers remain fairly stable. 41 patients in hospital with COVID-19, of whom 19 are in ICU at this time. While the virus can infect anyone, it is the unvaccinated who remain at greatest risk of serious illness. The frail elderly are also at risk, as their immune systems may be less able to fight off an infection. Vaccines remain the best protection we have, which is why it is so important that every New Brunswicker gets fully vaccinated as soon as possible. 1 year ago this week, the first New Brunswickers were vaccinated against COVID-19. And since then, we have administered 1,403,970 doses in the province. I want to thank everyone who has worked to deliver these vaccines in regional health authority clinics and participating pharmacies over the past year. Your efforts are making a difference. Une très grande majorité de la population de Nouveau-Brunswick a maintenant reçu 2 doses d'un vaccin et nous agissons rapidement afin de vacciner les enfants de 5 à 11 ans. Les personnes de plus de 50 ans qui ont reçu leur 2e dose en juin ou plus tôt sont admissibles à une dose de rappel et les membres d'autres groupes d'âge y seront admissibles au cours des prochaines semaines. The vast majority of New Brunswickers have now received 2 doses, and we are moving quickly to get children aged 5 to 11 vaccinated. Booster shots are available for those over 50 who had their second shot at least 5 months ago, and we will expand eligibility to other age groups in the coming weeks, with 40-year-olds expected to be eligible in early January. It is important to get vaccinated quickly. If you had a Pfizer vaccine for your first or second dose, you can get a Moderna for your booster. They're both mRNA vaccines, and they work in the exact same way and are equally effective in preventing serious illness. Please take the first vaccine that is offered. We are taking all of these actions to reduce the threat that our healthcare system will be overwhelmed by new COVID-19 cases. The threat is real, and not just because of the potential for surging hospital admissions. Those who work in the healthcare system are particularly vulnerable to this virus, as are their families. I am deeply concerned about the impact of healthcare workers being off the job in the coming weeks, either because they have contracted the virus or are required to isolate because someone around them has become infected. We could see up to 30% of our healthcare workforce off the job in the coming weeks, which will make a bad situation in our hospitals that much worse. With the anticipated growth in new cases, we are taking steps to ensure that we effectively manage cases and protect those who are most vulnerable to this virus. À compter d'aujourd'hui, les personnes chargées de la recherche des contacts ne s'occuperont plus d'aviser les contacts étroits de personnes ayant contracté la COVID-19. Les personnes ayant contracté le virus devront communiquer eux-mêmes avec leurs contacts étroits. Santé publique donnerait des conseils aux personnes infectées sur les renseignements à fournir à leurs contacts étroits au sujet de la marche à suivre pour le dépistage et l'isolement. Beginning today, contact tracers will no longer be notifying close contacts of confirmed COVID-19 cases. This will be the responsibility of those who are infected, and this is what is happening as well in Nova Scotia. Public Health will provide advice to infected persons on what to tell their personal close contacts regarding testing and isolation procedures. Public Health contact tracers will only contact the individual who tested positive or their employer and will provide them with isolation and testing guidance, as well as instructions on how to notify the close contacts using template letters. Public Health will only step in for contact notifications if no other means are available. We will take specific actions to limit the spread of cases in schools. When an infection is confirmed in a K-8 school, the entire school will be considered close contacts, and all students and staff will be required to take daily point-of-care tests. In high schools, this rule will apply to the infected students' classes and those who travel on the same school bus. With these protocols, we aim to continue to provide notice to any infected person in a high-risk setting within 24 to 48 hours. Over the holidays, I would ask you to take some time to think about those who have been working around the clock to keep New Brunswickers safe. Pendant les temps de fête, je vous demande d'avoir une pensée spéciale pour les personnes qui travaillent sans arrêt en vue de protéger la population du Nouveau-Brunswick. Merci beaucoup. Je souhaite un très beau temps de fête à toutes les citoyennes et à tous les citoyens de la province. Thank you very much, and my sincerest best wishes for the holiday season to all New Brunswickers.
Good afternoon. Bonjour. At this time of year, we love to gather and spread the holiday spirit. Unfortunately, with the virus as easily transmissible as COVID-19, it is all too easy to spread more than just joy when we get together. And the holiday season offers the perfect opportunity for that to happen as we gather with family and friends. We saw a spike in cases last year after the holidays, and know there is a good chance we will experience something similar or even worse again this year. We want people to enjoy the holiday season, but we must find a balance that helps us keep New Brunswickers safe. Nous voulons que les gens profitent de la période des fêtes, mais il faut trouver un juste milieu pour protéger les Néo-Brunswickois et les Néo-Brunswickois. We know that with the holiday season comes more gathering and socializing, especially with the 21 months we have just experienced. It is vital that we work together, as we have done before, to slow the spread of Omicron and other variants of the virus. We can still experience the joys of the holiday season with our loved ones, but we must do it safely. We all want to have as normal a Christmas as possible. and we want to spend time with friends and family without putting them or ourselves at risk. And there are many ways we can do that, but the best way is to follow public health measures. The majority of New Brunswickers have been doing the right thing all along and want to continue to do the right thing. And I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for your efforts. Je tiens à remercier sincèrement chacune d'entre vous pour tous vos efforts. While the steps are simple, they aren't always easy, and we're all tired. Unfortunately, COVID doesn't get tired. The importance of getting vaccinated against COVID-19 and getting your booster as soon as you are eligible cannot be understated. The more people who are vaccinated, the less severe our outbreaks will be. As of today, 82.7% of New Brunswickers are fully vaccinated. 89.6% have received their first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, and 14.8% have received a booster dose. Today, we are expanding eligibility to include immediate household family members 18 and over of those who are working in long-term care facilities, hospitals, and schools. In addition, early childhood centers and daycare staff, and immediate household members 18 and over if the individual is 158 days since their second dose. I encourage everyone who is eligible to make an appointment to get vaccinated, and I encourage parents to get your children age 5 and older vaccinated as soon as possible. Vaccines coupled with public health measures continue to be our best line of defense against COVID-19. We haven't gotten where we are without the support of so many people across this province. I want to thank many New Brunswickers who have spent the last 21 months following public health advice and rising to every challenge that's been thrown our way. I also want to thank our many healthcare workers around the province who have made enormous personal sacrifices to support our healthcare system throughout this pandemic. Over the next few days, I hope New Brunswickers are able to take the time, enjoy the holidays with their loved ones, and that they do so safely. Je prie que les Néo-Brunswickois et les Néo-Brunswickois pourront profiter de fêtes avec leurs proches au cours des prochains jours et qui le feront sans prendre des risques. Thank you. Merci.
Good afternoon. Bonjour. We have all watched with concern as the Omicron variant has spread in neighboring provinces and across the border in Maine. Though we have managed to keep our case numbers stable, we know it is only a matter of time before we see the same kind of exponential spread happening in New Brunswick as is happening across Canada and around the globe. Hier, j'ai discuté de la situation actuelle avec les premiers ministres des autres provinces de l'Atlantique. Les ministres de la Santé et les représentants de la santé publique ont également participé à cette réunion. This morning, Cabinet met to discuss next steps. Based on the recommendation of Public Health, all zones in the province will be moving to Level 2 of New Brunswick's COVID-19 winter plan. The move to Level 2 will go into effect on Monday, December 27th at 11:59 p.m. Le nombre de cas est actuellement plus faible dans les zones du nord de la province. Cependant, le nombre total de cas continue d'augmenter et le risque est élevé dans toutes les régions. We are announcing the move to Level 2 today because we know that this change will have an impact on both people and businesses, and we wanted to give everyone time to prepare. At Level 2, New Brunswickers must limit their household contacts to a maximum of a steady 10 individuals. This will offer some flexibility and will align with what is happening in other jurisdictions while keeping contacts low. Also, at Level 2, patrons are still permitted to dine in at restaurants, but restaurants will operate at 50% capacity, and either have barriers or 2 meters of distance between tables. Les entreprises et le commerce de détail sont ouverts à une capacité de 50% avec des mesures de distanciation physique. Lorsque c'est possible, les entreprises devraient encourager les employés à travailler à partir de la maison. Gyms and entertainment centers, as well as salons and spas, are open with proof of full vaccination at 50% capacity and 2 meters of physical distancing. Salons and spas can put in barriers between patrons, and they obviously do not require distancing between the patrons and the service provider. Businesses, organizations, and event spaces will operate at 50% capacity of the venue to a maximum of 150 people. Lors de ces activités, les participants doivent demeurer assis. Ils ne doivent pas rester debout, socialiser ou danser. Le port de masque est aussi obligatoire, sauf pour manger ou boire. L'objectif est de réduire le contact et la capacité du virus de se transmettre d'une personne à l'autre. Faith venues must operate at 50% capacity with no choirs. One soloist is permitted as long as they are a minimum of 4 meters from the congregation. The current measures for sports and recreation will continue. Professional leagues will be operating at level 2, which means that practices can continue, but games are canceled. For the moment, we will remain at level 1 with the interim measures in place. Our hope is that people will take steps now in advance of further measures beginning to keep their contacts low and slow the spread of this virus. Si nous avons moins de contacts, nous serons dans une meilleure situation dans les jours à venir. En respectant les mesures en place, vous pouvez avoir une grande influence. Vous aiderez aussi tous les gens de New Brunswick à passer une saison de fêtes en santé et en sécurité. We recognize that government has a role to play when it comes to curbing the spread of COVID-19, but so do individual New Brunswickers. Government can come up with the restrictions and the requirements, but it is up to individuals to do the right thing. Every choice we make and the actions we take impact not only us, but the people that we live with, we work with, and we socialize with. Our loved ones, our neighbors, our communities. An important component in our fight against COVID continues to be testing, as it is through testing that we get a clear picture of what we are up against. Since the beginning of the pandemic, New Brunswick has given out 6.4 million rapid tests through regional health authority distribution sites, schools, and chambers of commerce across this province. Every student in kindergarten through grade 12 was sent home with testing kits this holiday season. Nous invitons tout le monde à continuer d'utiliser les tests rapides parce qu'ils sont très utiles pour nous aider à détecter les cas, en particulier chez les personnes qui n'ont pas encore des symptômes. In fact, many of the recent positive PCR tests have come as a result of people doing rapid tests, getting a positive result, and booking a PCR test to confirm. Having these tests available helps to give New Brunswickers peace of mind as they gather for the holidays, knowing that they are not passing COVID-19 to loved ones. Getting rapid test kits in the hands of New Brunswickers doesn't just happen. It has taken a lot of organization and effort on the part of many people. Thank you for your hard work. You are making a difference for individual New Brunswickers and for our province. En cette période de fête, j'encourage tout le monde à prendre le temps d'apprécier tout ce qu'il y a de bon temps de nos vies, de tendre la main aux autres avec compassion et de vigier l'avenir avec espoir. This is the season to help others in our communities. By taking action to stay healthy and limit the spread of COVID-19, by getting vaccination quickly as possible, getting vaccinated and getting your booster, when you are eligible. By getting tested when required, you are helping to ensure that all New Brunswickers are able to have a safe and healthy holiday season. In New Brunswick, we're able at this time to meet and gather under a level 1 that was modified somewhat, but allows us to meet at Christmas with family and friends. It is through the concerns of what we're seeing around us, what we're seeing in every province, and the sudden growth of Omicron, and knowing that that's at our doorsteps and it's coming soon. But you know what has happened throughout, as there's been this gathering, this super spreader gathering, that is inevitably spread across an entire province and across the entire country and across many countries in the world. We are taking this action after Christmas, but before New Year's for a reason. New Year's can be, and the period between Christmas and New Year's, can be a very significant time for people to gather in large numbers and to celebrate. We want to celebrate. And as someone said, it's better to put off celebrating now so we can celebrate later than celebrate now and grieve later. We've seen actions over holidays create a major concern for us here in the province. We are trying to avoid that. And we're trying to say, look, let's enjoy our family and friends. Let's keep the gatherings as minimal as possible. And let's put in the measures we need to ensure we don't have that super spreader event coming in the new year. We know that even with all these initiatives, it will take your own initiative. It'll take everyone to do their own thing to protect themselves and the ones they love. We can do this, and we can come out of this on the other side, but we can only do it together and as one, the way we've been doing this through COVID throughout. Our hospitalizations are the areas of risk. Our healthcare workers, our frontline workers, people that we need to ensure we have access to, our facilities stay open so that critical care can always be provided in this province. Let's ensure that ability and capability continues. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Premier. Thank you, Minister Shepherd. Thank you, Dr. Russell. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Premier Ministre, Ministre Shepherd et Dr. Russell. Nous allons maintenant procéder aux questions, aux périodes de questions avec les membres des médias. Vous avez le droit de poser votre question dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Chaque journaliste aura une question. We'll now proceed with questions from members of the media. Each reporter will have one question, and you have the right to pose your question in the official language of your choice. Vicky Hogarth, CHCO-TV.
Thank you, Bruce. Premier Higgs, should New Brunswickers who are traveling during the holidays, especially those who will be traveling internationally, expect that more travel restrictions could be coming in the days ahead, especially if there is a big rise in Omicron cases? For instance, are you considering making quarantining for maybe 4 or 5 days mandatory for all those entering the province, even interprovincially, such as PEI and Newfoundland have done?
I would say anything is possible given in the coming days, given what we're seeing and to what level the Omicron virus actually spreads. I think anyone coming into the province at this time should indeed, plan to isolate, test, and take the in terms of internationally, they're doing that now. And after 5 days, taking a test, but testing intermittently. I think that anyone moving and going to other provinces, when I met with my colleagues this past week, when I referenced in the meeting, we talked about, protecting each other through transmission through our provinces. And that means testing, taking the test kits, testing, and making sure you are negative before you go to visit. But where it goes coming forward, for what we're seeing around us, yes, we could be back here regularly, with additional measures as required. But I need to stress, what we're asking for right here is really common sense. And anything short of common sense is going to pose a risk to what we have to do further. I don't believe for a moment that we can have enforcement to cause people to do the right thing. But I do believe that people will do the right thing because we've always been close. And now we're moving fast, quickly on the third dose. So we can get through this and not have a big wave. We're going to see Omicron rise. There's no question about that. But to the degree of it rising will be totally dependent on us.
Thank you, Premier. Andrew Waugh, Brunswick News.
Thanks, Bruce. Premier, there's a couple of things going on there. I mean, you're talking about the exponential rise of Omicron and how dangerous it is, yet you're still allowing Christmas to go ahead. You're saying we're in a race to get boosters out. Why not open up the boosters to, like Ontario did today? Everybody over 18, it's been at least 3 months, just go and get your shot. Do we not have the capacity, or were we not ready for this?
Hi, Andrew. So we do have a plan in terms of getting our boosters to the most vulnerable people first and trying to get the 5 to 11-year-old children with their first and second doses over the next little while. So that is the plan. We will reduce the age as we move forward. We do have to be very cognizant of supply, of capacity, and all of those things. So they're all factored into our rollout of this plan.
Andrew, I was just going to add to that in relation to the boosters. I think what you see is a proactive stance here. We do not have, if you followed our current curve of infections, we've been pretty steady at the 100, 130 average with peaks in the mid 150s. But our hospitalization has been consistent. We haven't seen a large increase in hospitalizations, and that has been helpful, even though certainly hospitals are strained. So we started the booster program 50 plus, and that's certainly, been rolling out and looking at the timing in which that would be accessible. But those are the vulnerable areas. It's important to get to see the age group, the health group, the daycare workers, folks that will be vulnerable in order to keep us moving going forward and that have certainly a risk in this process. So we'd started that, several weeks ago, irregardless of Omicron coming our way. So now the moves we're making today is not because we have this situation right today in our province. It's because we see this situation all around us, and there's no reason to think that it won't eventually get here. Hopefully later, hopefully never, but the odds are pretty high that it will. So we are in fact reacting today much quicker than our current situation might dictate, because our success has always been in moving quickly. And that's where we are.
Both. Alexandre Boudreau avec l'Acadie Nouvelle.
Oui, bonjour. Ma question est pour la Dr Russell. J'ai vu que, il semble que vous avez changé les mesures de la phase 2 sur votre site web. On parle maintenant que les ménages doivent limiter leurs contacts à une liste de 10 contacts. Avant, on parlait d'une bulle de 2 ménages. Vous m'expliquez exactement tout ce qui a changé et pourquoi vous changez ça aujourd'hui alors que vous annoncez qu'on passe immédiatement à la phase 2 lundi?
Oui, alors pour la phase 2, on voulait être aligné avec les autres provinces qui annoncent les mêmes restrictions au niveau des nombres de gens pour la limite. Et les 10 plus votre meuble, votre maison, ça inclut toutes les personnes qui vous avez besoin pour le support, des enfants dans d'autres situations familiales. Alors, c'est votre maison plus 10 autres, mais les mêmes 10.
Merci, M. Boudreau. Merci, Dr. Laurel Lyle with CTV.
Thanks, Bruce. This question is for the Premier. Given the number of cases of Omicron that we're already seeing in the province, not to mention the regions around us, why take the risk at all of not putting in restrictions in earlier before people gather, on Christmas Eve, Christmas, Boxing Day, that sort of thing?
I think what we're seeing right now in the discussions we've had is that we had a winter plan that laid out based on what we saw in the province that would trigger the different changes to level 1, level 2, and level 3. What you're seeing here is a modification of that and a moving to level 2 quicker because of what we're seeing around us, not what we're seeing in New Brunswick. And our level of the Omicron virus right now, I believe the case numbers are in the order of 30 or 35. And we haven't seen that doubling of cases. In fact, our cases continue to say, you know, as I said earlier, they're staying in the maybe 110 to 140 range. So we are reacting now based on what we see around us. And as the minister said earlier today, you know, when you get a forecast of the storm coming, you start preparing, you know, and you start battening down the hatches and closing on the windows. And so what we're doing is we're tightening up, while at the same time, the balancing act of all of this is, what will people accept? Would people accept if I was here today without this case count around, in New Brunswick, but seeing it all around us and say, well, we've decided you can't get together with your family after all at Christmas? You know, we went through that at Thanksgiving. So we're trying to balance it with the common sense approach that it's coming, we need to tighten up, we need to minimize our risk, we need to do it make sense, and giving people adequate time to prepare for next week and the New Year's Day, because we just cannot have those celebrations like would likely be planned and which are planned already. Those are the risk areas, and we just cannot jump and do it immediately. But we can warn people, you must make these changes and not participate as one might have hoped through the New Year's period.
Thank you. We're now going to go to Marie Sutherland with CBC. Ms. Sutherland?
Hi, my question is for Dr. Russell. You're asking everyone to, well, I believe it was actually Premier Higgs who mentioned that everyone should be using rapid tests, but we're seeing very long lines and traffic backups at several rapid test pickup sites, lineups around the block in the cold. Is there a shortage of these tests, and is public health considering ways to speed up access to them?
Hi, Marie. So I am aware of some of those long lines. We don't have a shortage. We are really doing our best right now to distribute those. Again, right now we have 189,000 kits or 1.5 million tests on hand. We anticipate another 500,000 tests this week and another 750,000 tests arriving the first week of January. And as of right now, more than 6.4 million tests have been distributed to date through large employer programs, small and medium-sized chamber programs, the outbreaks, and 41 regional health authority community clinics, 15 Vitalité, 4 Horizon Hub, and 22 microsites. Yesterday alone, 25,674 kits were distributed, which equals 218,450 tests at the regional health authority locations. So again, we've got all of these tests available. We are distributing them. We do want people to understand that there are other places to pick them up. Horizon has different holiday hours, though, for the POCT pickup sites. So December 24th, it's 1 to 4 in those hub sites. December 24th, the mobile sites will be open as usual, 10:30 to 2. And then they'll be closed on December 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th, as well as the January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And in Vitalité, all the locations will be closed on December 25th, 26th, and January 2nd, 1st and 2nd. So obviously the rapid tests are not designed, they're not intended for individuals who are symptomatic. Those people require a PCR test. So they need to get registered for a PCR test. So especially those people if they've been a close contact of a case. So far we've really seen a really great uptake in the point of care tests. We've seen the people who have tested positive with point of care tests get their PCR confirmatory test. So that is working extremely well. I mean, again, this is not 100%, but it's one more tool in our toolbox. Again, we'd like to lean on all of those different areas because, again, we are facing Omicron upsurge in the coming weeks. And again, we really need to maximize and be as efficient as we can in our approach.
Thank you both. Bobby Terrien avec Info Weekend.
Oui, allô, c'est Acadie Nouvelle en fait, mais c'est correct.
Excuse-moi.
Pas de problème. Ma question, ça serait pour la docteure Russell. On a parlé tantôt de tests qui ont été distribués dans les écoles pour les élèves, en fait, pendant le congé scolaire. Ma question est de quelle façon on compte s'assurer que ces tests-là sont passés là, avant le retour à l'école de la part de ces élèves-là?
Vous voulez savoir s'il y a une façon qu'on peut renforcer le fait que tout le monde a besoin d'utiliser les tests avant le retour à l'année scolaire dans le mois de janvier?
C'est ça, ouais, de quelle façon on va s'assurer que c'était... Parce qu'on demande à certains élèves, je crois, de passer des tests chaque jour quand il y a des éclosions, puis on demande aussi aux autres élèves de les passer à une certaine fréquence. Donc,
oui.
Comment on compte s'assurer que ça va être fait avant le retour à l'école, en fait?
Oui, la seule chose qu'on peut faire, c'est juste communiquer avec le système d'éducation, les parents, les élèves. On peut juste faire notre possible pour assurer que les gens comprennent ce qui est demandé d'eux et ils peuvent faire toutes les choses qu'ils ont besoin de faire et suivre nos avis.
Merci. Pascal Rochnog avec Radio-Canada.
Oui, bonjour. Ma question, c'est pour la docteure Russell. C'est juste une question de précision parce que au cours des derniers mois, on a répété souvent que lorsqu'on parlait de contacts rapprochés, lorsqu'on avait des contacts au restaurant ou dans un lieu qui nécessitait la preuve de vaccination, ça ne comptait pas dans la liste de contacts rapprochés. J'aimerais savoir, avec les règles actuelles et les règles qui vont changer le 27 décembre, lorsqu'on voit une personne dans un restaurant où la preuve de vaccination est exigée, est-ce qu'on doit ajouter cette personne-là à notre liste de contacts rapprochés? Est-ce que ça compte dans notre bulle de 20 ou notre bulle de 10?
Bien, si vous êtes dans un restaurant, puis vous êtes moins de 2 mètres avec quelqu'un, puis vous ne portez pas vos masques, vous devrez compter cette personne-là comme un contact étroit quand le traçage de contact étroit est fait.
Merci. We'll now proceed to Travis Fortnum with Global TV.
Hi there. My question is for Dr. Russell. So we're hearing about the dire situations outside our borders. Wondering what you would attribute this. So we're not seeing that in New Brunswick. Wondering what you would attribute that to.
I think it's being delayed here. We haven't had a super spreader event. Other jurisdictions have had super spreader events. That doesn't mean to say that we can't have that situation happen here at any time. There's so many different analogies we can use at this time. The cases will go up. I mean, I think we just sequenced another 40. I know we had 30 the other day, and I just received information that I think we have another 40 cases of Omicron. So, you know, again, we expect that number to double every 2 to 3 days. So if you do the math, even with all of our efforts, we will see those numbers go up. But we really need the cooperation of the public right now to understand the severity and, again, delay that rise in cases as much as we possibly can. And the only way to do that is to limit our close contacts.
Thank you. Erica Butler with CHMA Sackville.
Hi there. Yeah, many thanks. I guess I'm curious. I'm just sort of following on the last question here. This level going to level 2 on December 27th is. I gather the argument there is that we're acting preemptively on Omicron, but Omicron's already here in New Brunswick. So I guess I'm wondering about the status of those cases the ones that we found, are they contained in any way, or is Omicron currently circulating right now in New Brunswick? And how susceptible are we to something like what's happening in Nova Scotia right now?
Well, again, we haven't had a super spreader event with Omicron. My understanding of the cases, because I asked my team today if any of them had been hospitalized yet, there have been no cases of COVID-19 with the Omicron variant that have been hospitalized yet in the province. I do expect to see hospitalizations of Omicron cases soon. Again, it's just difficult to predict the timing. So again, as we see those numbers rise, we eventually will see the cases of hospitalizations of Omicron, of the Omicron variant going up as well. Again, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern in terms of the stability right now, but I wouldn't expect that to remain what it is right now. So again, we're trying to do everything we can to manage what the current situation is and try to look ahead at what we can do to prevent a surge from happening.
Thank you.
Just to confirm, Dr. Russell, does that mean Omicron is currently circulating?
Well, as I mentioned, we had identified 30 cases the other day, and I just received information that we have another 40 identified. So I anticipate that number is going to continue to grow. So we do have cases of Omicron. Can I say that 100% of the contacts have been traced and isolated? Again, we try to do that within 24 to 48 hours. Is it done 100% of the time? Probably not. That's why we're having to adjust how we do our contact tracing and case management, as other provinces are having to do as well.
That concludes today's COVID-19 update for New Brunswick with Premier Higgs, Dr. Russell, and Minister Shepherd. Just for a quick recap of everything that we learned today, 156 new cases in the province. As Dr. Russell mentioned, she thinks there's about another 40 cases of Omicron in the mix of new cases we've seen recently. Obviously, the biggest news of today's conference, and we had a feeling it could be going in this direction, is that we will be moving to level 2 in New Brunswick's winter plan on Monday. That's December 27th. So they were trying to find a balance just to get people through the holidays and able to celebrate, but also in light of Omicron and the wave that's expected, especially for January. It's inevitable. They're doing as much as they can to be preventative of what's to come. I want to say a quick hello to Tracy and Kaylee watching in Moncton. They're both, I think that's Tracy and Kaylee from Bingo as well. I play Bingo regularly. Again, this is just a reminder for those of you who do take part in our other programming. We will be continuing TV Bingo tonight and even next week, so there will be no break for the holidays. I guess we'll take a couple days off, but we will be doing bingo both tonight and next week as well, so we won't be taking any weeks off. I know that some other places are, but we are going to continue. Christmas falls on Saturday, and so that hasn't really disrupted our schedule at all, except we have already unfortunately had to limit our volunteers down to a very small number tonight, just in light of what we know about Omicron at this point in time. And a special hello to Marilyn watching in Ormukto as well. I just saw your email come in, and I really appreciate all the feedback we get from the public. It has been a pleasure to be a part of this conversation and these updates with you this year and the year before. I know that it's seems sometimes daunting, all the information we hear, but it really does make my day to be a part of this with you and to do the best I can to get your questions answered in these conferences. I'm sorry there was only one question that we were able to ask today. All the journalists were limited just due to the large number of journalists in on today's conference, but I will be putting together a summarized news report for this evening that hopefully encapsulates all that was shared in today's conference for you tonight. So look for that on Facebook as well. If there is a conference, I'm not expecting one in the coming days ahead. I will be here though, so if there is one, they will be aired on CHCO, and I will notify you on Facebook as soon as I hear of anything. And again, we will be continuing updating you there with the daily case counts and whatnot throughout the holidays. And since I will be here in New Brunswick with you, it won't be a problem. All right, thank you for watching. Happy holidays. I'm Vicki Hogarth at the CHCO News Desk. I'll see you next time.
This has been a news and public affairs production of CHCO-TV, New Brunswick's only source for independent community television.